Can you guys hear me now? Alright, well, we're gonna restart. So, welcome to day 5 of the Inspired Coding Club course. Um, we're gonna be talking about control nodes and further learning. So, also this lecture is being recorded. So, let's get started. Um, so control nodes are Godot's version of UI, or that's UI short for user interface. That's like the buttons, the menus, the settings the player interacts with, to change different things about the game, or even to display like how much health the player has, or different enemies, the health bars of enemies, that kind of thing. And today we're gonna be using that to add some simple text to our game. So, uh, although control nodes in Godot provide a lot of customization, there's just way too much to cover, and not even I have like understood. Not even I know like everything you can do with control nodes because there's so many of them. There's a lot of ways you can customize. So, let's get started. Let's open up our projects. It's the project we've been working with the past uh, 2 classes. All right. I'm also going to get the link for. Alright, I'm gonna be sending the link for the code document in the chat, and I'll be copy pasting code there. Alright, so we're gonna start by adding. So everyone has their game open right now. We have the main scene open. With the main scene selected, we're gonna add a child node. So click the white plus. We're gonna add a canvas layer. This is a new node. You haven't used before. We're gonna add a canvas layer. And so a canvas layer makes any children part of another layer. Compared to a canvas layer is essentially another like layer on the screen. Normally you have the 2D world, right, where we have our player and coins. This is a separate layer, and we can use this to display text above everything else. So we're gonna start by adding 2 labels to this. Go on the canvas layer, hit the white plus, and we're gonna search up label. Click on that, and I'm gonna rename this to text. I'm gonna add another label, and I'm gonna rename this time. Alright. So we're gonna be using this time label to display how much time is left in the game. If you guys remember, I'll play the game really quick. If you see in the output log, we can start the game, right? We can collect coins, and the time is printed. So instead of having this stuff printed in the output, we'll have the time displayed on the screen. We'll have like a win message displayed on the screen instead of in the output window. Alright, so we're gonna add some default text to both of these. So on the text label, we're gonna just type text in this text property. And then for the time, we're gonna type 0.00. Text, we have text. Time, we have 0.00. Alright, so once you have that, you'll notice that you can't really read too well. You can't really read what's going on there. It's like 0E, 0X, whatever, right? Because they're kind of overlaid on each other. The 2 labels are on top of each other. Let's change that. So let's go to the time label, and we're gonna click on this little layout button. I'm gonna draw that in. This button right here. Click on that, and you'll see there's a bunch of different options for how we want to kind of lay our time label on the screen. I'm gonna be selecting center top. It's the 6th option down. Alright, select that. And then for the text label, click the text label, click on layout, and I'm gonna select bottom wide. Alright, so that's gonna be on the bottom. It's gonna cover the entire bottom of the screen. So these different layout options allow us to quickly position and size our control nodes, so we don't really need to do it manually. Alright, that's what we're looking like right now. Let's move on. So you'll notice that for our text, especially for our time and our both labels, they are kind of aligned on the left side. So we're gonna change this. We're gonna go to both labels, and we're gonna change this align property from left to center, and the same thing with the V align, so vertical align. I'll also make this centered. Same thing for the text label. Center, center. Oh, whoops. Actually, for the time label, you can keep these in the default. We'll be adjusting those later. So for the time label, keep it left and top. I'm also going to increase the height of both of these, so I'm going to extend it towards the screen. You have these little dots you can use. Increase and decrease the height. No need for exactness here, just kind of whatever feels right for you. So right now, this font is kind of ugly. I won't lie. Doesn't really fit the aesthetic of our game. It's like blurry. It's all round. When our game is actually a pixel art game, so that's why we have a font file. So we're gonna click on. Let's go to the text label first. Let's go all the way down until we see theme overrides right here. Click on that, and then click on fonts, and then under the empty, click on empty, and we're gonna select new dynamic font. Then click on that dynamic font. So click on that, and then click on font. A lot of fonts, huh? And then under font data, that's where we're gonna drag in the font.ttf file. Long process. And then we're gonna go to settings, and we're gonna change the size of this text, this font, from 16 to 12. This is a very simple way to change the font of our game, change the size of that font, and we can also change the color. So if you go back under theme overrides, go to colors, and then check the first box. So font color, we're gonna make it black. That looks fine to me. Alright. Alright, so we're gonna do a very similar process. In fact, we're just gonna copy this dynamic font. So we're gonna right click the dynamic font, click copy, and we're gonna go to our time label. Go under theme overrides again, Let's change the color right now. So go to colors, check the font color, black. Then go to fonts, and then under empty we can right click and click paste. And let's click on dynamic font again, and let's change this font to be a little bit bigger. Let's make this 16. What? Oh, okay. So when I changed that, it actually changed both sides of this time label and text label. That's not right. Let's press Control Z. And the reason that's happening is because this dynamic font is being shared, because we copy pasted it, it's being shared between this time label and text label. So the way we can fix this is simply go on one of them, either the text or the time label. I'll go on the time label. I'm going to right click dynamic font and click make unique. That way these two are now separate, so we can change the values, like the font size, and they'll be different. Let's change that font size to 16. Alright. Where's make unique? So you gotta right click on the dynamic font right next to this. I'm gonna draw it so you can see it better. We have font, we have dynamic F. It's kind of cut off, so you're just going to click on, right click on that, and then click make unique. Alright, so once you do that, change the size to 16 and then you're good. Alright, so once we have this, we're gonna go into our main scripts and actually put these labels to use. Not letting you change the size. So if you go under fonts, make sure you have a font created, dynamic font. Go under settings, size. Okay, so let's do this process over again really quick. So we go under theme overrides. How to show the text. So when you create you go to theme overrides, go there, and you click on fonts. Once you click the check mark or you create a new dynamic font, it's gonna disappear for a second until you add a new font. So you gotta go to font. I'm gonna circle all the different steps. So here, go here, here, and you get this font.ttf, and you put it all the way in there. And then you can change things like the settings, make it bigger or smaller. You don't need to copy what I'm doing. If you don't want to, you can make it really big, really small. Sort of preference. Alright, I'm gonna move on to the next step now. No setting. Oh, like a settings category here. You don't have this. So you gotta click, once you create that dynamic font. Oh, you can't change it, I see. So if you were to remove this, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with you, with your. If you want, you can try this process all over again, right? Go under theme overrides. Go under theme overrides. Then you would click on fonts from theme overrides. Then you click on empty. You click get a new dynamic font, then go under font and drag font.ttf font data. After that, you should be able to go to settings and change the size. Alright, so let's go into our main script right here on the script icon, and let's start replacing some of these print statements because I'm kind of tired of them. So first off, let's change the very first message, the press space to start the game. Let's change this. So let's delete that message, and we're going to be typing $canvas layer slash text dot text equals press space to start game. So this is our reference to that text label, right? We go from the canvas layer down to the text, and then we get the text property of the text label. And then we set that text property to this phrase or string. Alright. I'm gonna copy paste all of this into the document once I'm done with all of it, because it's just kind of replacing all these print statements, and then I'll be done. Okay. Once you do that, I'm gonna go into the start game. I'm gonna scroll down until I get to the first print message. I'm gonna replace this canvas layer slash text dot text is equal to, and I'm just gonna copy paste this message and delete the statement. Same thing here. In fact, I'll just copy paste this code and just change the message. Have that. Alright, and then for the win, go to the win function, and we're gonna replace these as well. Same thing. The lose. So whenever the timer runs out, I tell the player you lost. And I'm gonna put this code in the document now. We'll have more edits, but this is what we have, and we're gonna be changing the property or change the code later. But yeah, I'm gonna copy paste that code. That's what we wrote. So essentially, we just changed the print statements to setting the text labels text to whatever we were gonna print. And you can try this out now once you have it copy pasted. Let's press space to start the game. Get ready. Nice. Lose. Lost. So now the player doesn't need to look at the output log every time they want to get a message, right? Right now, though, the time is still not working. And another problem we have, notice whenever we play the game, we have the little go at the bottom that just kind of stays up there the entire game. And I don't really like that. I want it to like kind of stay for a little bit, and then it'll be gone once the game's like started a little bit. So let's change that. Go to where we have go. I'm gonna add an exclamation mark because I forgot that. And then also, I'm gonna go all the way down here at the bottom. I'm gonna type this code. I will copy paste this. But essentially what we're gonna do is we are going to wait half a second, 0.5 seconds. That is how you wait. That's how you wait, and then you can just choose how long you want to wait. That, and then we're gonna change the text back to equal to nothing. So to double quotation mark with nothing inside, it'll make the text disappear. It's gonna go in the code document again. Alright, so let's try this out now. So now you see that whenever the game starts, it's prints go, or it displays go, and then it disappears after a little bit. Any questions so far about what we are doing and why? Or about how we're doing it? How is this code working? How are these different nodes working? No? Okay. So that works right. Now let's make the time label work. Because right now we can't see the time in the game, it's in the output log. Right? That's not so desirable. So what we're gonna do is we are going to start off, let's go to this coin collided function, and we're gonna delete this line of code where that's printing the time left. And instead, we're gonna print how much time is left every frame. So inside the process function, we are going to print, not print, sorry. We're going to get canvas layer slash time dot text, and we're gonna set this equal to str timer dot time left. I put this in the code document. I will explain this. Alright, so this code's pretty simple. Because it's inside the process function, it's going to be running every frame. And it's setting the text of the time label, not the text label, time label, equal to the amount of time left in the coin timer. And then you'll see that we have this little str function. The reason we need to do that is because right now this time left is a float variable, and this text is a string property or string variable. And so this str, short for string, it converts the float, the number, into a text, right? A text with numbers in it, or a string. That way it'll work. If we remove this, we'll get an error, and that's not really. So let's try this out. See that we have our time printed up there, and yeah, this works. But there are a couple issues we'll see. First off, there are way too many digits, right? We don't need to see, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's too many, right? That's the point. Way too many. We probably only need to see about like 3, right? Right, like 3.22 seconds, something like that. So we can fix this simply by turning on a property. Let's go to the time label, and we're gonna look for clip text. We're gonna check that. let's look at you. You guys are having issues. Do you have str right here? That's very important that you have str and you put coin timer left in there. Yes, you have it. Try to copy paste the code again. Try it out. It's also important, it's very important, very, very important that you have these nodes labeled the same way you wrote them in the code, or labeled the same way I have them. Because this is getting the node that is called text. It's not getting a node that's called capitalization is also important, right? If you have just text run our game, we'll get an error because it doesn't know what that node is because it doesn't exist. It needs to be the exact capitalization. So check that. Make sure your nodes are named properly. Yeah, Hudson, what's your issue? Doesn't work. So try to look at the names. Make sure this is canvas layer. Make sure this is text. It needs to be spelled the same, no spaces. Sam capitalization. If that doesn't work, copy paste the code again. Line 18. Alright, your error is on line 18. That helps. So, just try to copy paste this line again. Or copy the code I have here. If you could, it would help if you could send me your error, what it's telling you. Issue is. Copy paste that in chat and I could help. Alright, so we're gonna move on now. Let's go. So make sure you guys went to the time label and then went on the right. And make sure you select clip text. If you were to try it without, see that we have way too many digits that we don't need, and it's pretty distracting. So we're gonna check clip text. What that's gonna do is it's gonna get whatever digits you have after. So you see how we have like a certain size. This will essentially what it'll do is that if there's any text after this, it'll just cut it. Right? So if we keep typing, nothing. So any digits after this just won't appear. And so let's try this out. Go. Have our. That's pretty good. Looks good. Right, let's. Yeah. One issue though is you'll notice that whenever the game ends or whenever the time is 0, you'll see that it shows only one digit. And that doesn't look too great, right? We have 3 digits and then after we win or whenever we lose, we'll go back to like 0. Right? We don't want that. So the way we're gonna fix this is let's go to our script. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this code. This code that's gonna update the text, the time label. I'm gonna put this inside an if statement that's gonna check if the game has started. Right, so we're only gonna update the text of the time label whenever the game is started. And once we do that, Let's try this. Alright, so still having the issue, right? Getting to like 0.0, like 0 seconds, and then sometimes it's going all the way to 0, then it goes to 0.1, like 0.01. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll down. We're gonna go to this on coin timer timeout, and so this is whenever we lose. We're gonna set the time left, or the time that's being displayed. We're gonna set the time label equal to 0.00. This way, whenever we lose, time will go back to 0. Yes, I'll copy paste the code in a second. Alright, let's get that code in there. I'll be adding some more stuff though. As you will notice that we are still having an issue where, see, whenever we press space and the game is like, it's like get ready, you have just 0 showing up. And there's no like 0.00. There's only one digit right here. So let's fix this as well. There's a lot of minor fixes we're changing just to make this this label show up properly. But it's gonna be well worth it. So let's scroll up, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by creating a new variable called game playing, and we're gonna set this equal to false by default. So you have a game started variable and a game playing variable. This game playing variable, we're gonna be using this to track when the game is actually when it has been started, right? Because it's when it's starting, this will be true, and when it's actually when you can actually play the game and move the character around, this variable will be a little confusing, but it helps us the text displaying properly. So once we have this, we're gonna go inside the if game started, inside process, and we're gonna write a new if statement, game playing. So we're gonna check if game is playing. Then we want to update the text, the time label, whatever time is left, and then if not, we are going to set the text equal to our start time, so that way the player knows how much time they start with. And then we are going to have 0.00. We're going to add 0.00. Right now, our start time is 1 second, and so we'll have 1 plus 0.00. That makes sense. We're essentially adding two phrases, two strings, like that. I will add the code once we're done. Still have a little. But for this code to work, we need to actually make sure we're setting the game playing variable. We need to change it inside our code. So whenever we start the game, we want to set game playing equal to false, right? Because when it's starting, right, when it says get ready, we're not actually playing the game, right? We can't move the player around. So we're going to set that equal to false. We're going to scroll down until we see start timer timeout. So when it says go, right, this is when the player can play the game. So right here, we're gonna set game playing equal to true. And that way, whenever the game starts and you can actually move your player around, then the time label will start tracking the time. Because before then, the time is just kind of, it's not changing. Let's try this out. So this looks pretty good. Whenever we're starting the game, tells us how much time we're gonna start with, and then it's whenever the game starts, it'll start counting down. Let me copy paste this code into the document. Alright. And that is pretty much all we have for our game. This game is looking pretty good to me. If you guys want, you can make some final edits to it, and then I'm going to be showing you guys how to export your game, and that way you can share it with your friends on their computers. They can play it on their computers. But if you want right now, you can adjust the values, change this coin time, start time, to whatever feels right to you. Start with that. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into exporting our game so you can play it like any other game you would play on your computer. Some values around, just play testing, making the difficulty right. If you're having any issues right now, tell me now and I can try to help you out. Too hard. Line 16 isn't working. Alright, let's see. Let's go to line 16 of your code. Alright. So if you copy pasted it from the document, alright, thank you for the image, that helps. So it says get node isn't declared. You guys are having errors. Oh, my 18. Interesting. Can I see your hierarchy on the left here? So if I could just an image of here stuff. Yeah, you can just play your game right now if you're done to settings. And this is inside the do you want to try copy pasting the code over? Because I actually don't know. You can just try copy pasting this line. And if you want, just play your game and then see if the error is still there. Play button and maybe it'll disappear. Alright, Hudson, are you still having issues? Uh, yeah, maybe you don't have this extends node 2D is important here. That's why that could be a reason why you're having that. She had that line up there. Oh, you didn't have it? Yeah, that must explain it. Because also, if you copy pasted the code, you would have that code on line 19 exactly. Well, you got it figured out. Give a little bit more time for you guys to tweak the settings. To fix the difficulty of your game. You can increase how many coins you have. You could, instead of 10, you could have 20 or like 2. Oh yeah, what's wrong with what's wrong, Hudson? Having issues with line 18? Okay. I don't know what would be going wrong with line 18. So it could be an issue that you copy pasted the code wrong. Maybe you missed the first two lines, or something like that. It's very important that you have this entire everything that you see me highlighting in the document. That's what you need. From the extends node 2D to the bottom. Still having issues after you do that? Okay. 500 coins 1 second per. Yeah, I don't think you can mess that up. That'd be interesting to try. Oh wow. Yeah, this is not really a game anymore. There's no challenge here. We added all the challenges for the. Yeah. No point of having a timer at this point. Oh wow, that's a lot. 18,811 coins. Yeah, I think I'll keep mine at 10. Keep it a little challenging. That's what I have. Those are my values to make my game. Copy those. Yeah. Make the start number negative. You're gonna get an error. Oh yeah, if you 20,000, Godot will probably crash. If you make the coin, yeah, if you make the coin number negative, it's just not gonna work. Start your game, you're gonna play it, and then it's gonna be nothing. The reason for that is because we're using a for loop, and if we're trying to do a for loop with a negative number, that doesn't really work out, right? Because it's gotta be it just doesn't work. For loops don't really work with negative numbers. Can make them work. Oh. Okay. Cuts and make sure you have this code on the left. Or sorry, the this right here and this right here. Make sure those are the same case, same up if starts with uppercase T, text, time, canvas layer. Gotta make sure it's the right capitalization. If you could, it'd be helpful to get the either an image of what's going on or an error, whatever error you're getting. If you haven't already, you could copy paste the code. Still having issues, Hudson? Alright. I'm gonna move on now to exporting game. So exporting your game is a way to I'm actually just gonna show my desktop. I have all these different apps on my desktop. There's Minecraft, Bloons Tower Defense, Godot, Discord, Blender, all these different apps. They all have what are called .exe files. Um, well, for Windows, that they are .exe files, application files, and you can simply double click these and open them, and they'll open an entire program for you. Right? Not Muck. Ah, right. Among Us, Uno, all these different things. So let's open up Godot, and we're gonna make our game be, be an application file just like that. So the way we're gonna do this is we are going to go over top left. We're gonna click on project, then click on export. Project and then export. At any point you get stuck, type a quick message in the chat so I can go back. Project export, and you're gonna have this window up here. What we're gonna need to do is we are going to add a platform. So click on this little add button. See that add button? Click on that. And because I'm on a Windows computer, and so I'll do that again. Go to project. So projects. Go to export. Project export. And then we have this add button. We're gonna click on that. And because I'm on a Windows desktop, I'm gonna select Windows desktop. I'm not sure how it works on Mac because I don't really work with Mac computers or Apple much at all. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna be doing Windows desktop. If you want to do Mac, you'll probably need to go on a search up a YouTube video on how to do that. But you can try it there. There's also HTML5. That's the way you can get your game on a website. There's a few more steps there. So we're just gonna do Windows desktop for now. There's tons of YouTube videos on how to do these different platforms. Just click on Windows desktop. And okay. So at some point, you guys will probably have some error at the bottom. I don't have it because I've been using Godot for a while, so I'm gonna show it on screen here. So if we're looking right here, you're gonna have this big error. Yeah, a lot of errors. What you're gonna want to do is click on Manage Exports Templates right here. You're gonna click on that. It's gonna open up a little export template manager right here. You're gonna click on download and install. If you if something is missing, something's different for you, let me know. But if you're able to download and install, on that, so this goes to here. Yes, you will. You may need to wait. Time. All right. I'm gonna. So Hudson. Oops. Okay. So we have this window here. And if you aren't me, you will most likely have some big error right here. Right here. And you're gonna click on a little button that's underlined. It's gonna say Manage Export Templates. And then after that, so your window will probably look like this. Like that. You are going to click on this button. Okay, and it should open up a window that looks something like this. And then you are going to click download and install. And so while you guys are waiting, I'll kind of explain what we're doing. Is when you downloaded Godot, you would have realized that it's a very small file, a very small engine, right? There's no installation process. It's just one application, one executable file is called .exe, executable. And in order to export our games, we are going to need to download export templates that kind of tell Godot how to take all this all this Godot code, the GD script, the nodes, and make it into an actual application for a Windows computer, a Mac computer. And these are on the Godot website, but they're also available for you to download straight from the editor. Alright, so who is still downloading? Alright, Skylar's still downloading. Alright, so once you're finished downloading, you're going to go back to this export page. And you're going to go back to the export page. So let me open up Godot again. So again, who is still downloading? Just to get a tally. If I should move on or not. Not me. Alright, I'll show it for Hadar, and if anyone else needs it, I'll show it again. So you're gonna go. So once you download that, it might close whatever windows you have open. We're gonna go back to project. Right, back to project. And we're gonna go to export again. And you should see that that big error is gone. If it's not gone, might have done something wrong. I can help you out after class. So once that big error is gone, right, no longer there, and we have this export window open, we are going to click on export projects. Export project. And we are going to uncheck this export with debug, uncheck that, and then give your game a name, right? You can name it whatever you want, right? I'm gonna name it Super Awesome Game. You can have spaces in this if you want. Too. Super awesome game, because this game is super awesome, right? You might also get a little warning down here at the bottom. I'm not sure where, but you may get a warning. And if you do, that's all right. It shouldn't be too hard. You're gonna click save, and yeah, like you're gonna get an error like this, and it's gonna say cannot start, blah blah blah. You don't need to worry too much about this. Just click OK, and second, check something. Okay, so if you just did that, what it'll do is it'll save your project straight to whatever the file system. So go to the file system, right click on this res folder, open in file manager, and you'll see now there's two files that got added. Super awesome game and the super awesome game.pck. And Now what you can do is you can move these two files. These two files need to stay together if you want your game to run properly. So we'll create a folder on our desktop called Super Awesome Game. Right, open this folder, and that's the installation of our game, right? Take these two files, put those into that folder, and we can like open this folder up. And if you want to access this game quickly, right, like all these other different games, we have shortcuts to them. These aren't actually where the game's installed. It's not installed on the desktop. We have a shortcut to them. So we could create a shortcut, right, and put that on your desktop. You have access to your super awesome game whenever you want to play it. You'll see it's the game we have, game we made, right? And it's open. And if you want, you could even close Godot, right? But let me show you guys a few extra tips for this. So you'll notice that there's a couple things wrong. First off, it has the Godot icon. Let's say you made a icon for your game and you want that to display instead. You go to project settings, and then under this configuration tab, you have a bunch of different ways you can configure your game. For example, you can change the name of the game. If you were to open up the game right now, see that this application is just called Day 3. That was the name of the project. And that's not, I want it to be named Super Awesome Game, right? So I could change that up there in the project settings. Super Awesome Game. And I could also get an icon, right? I could drag this icon into the file system and then I would select it like this. You can change how big your display is. Actually, not do that. Yeah. There's a configuration. You could change the test width and height if you wanted to. But there's a bunch of different ways you can configure your game. Way too many to get into today because we have a little bit more to do, a bit more to talk about. Yeah. And whenever you change one of those, then just save your game and export your game again. You can also change where you want your game to export to. Like if you want to export into a separate folder, this is what most games do. They have a folder called build or builds. And inside they have like different versions, like version 1. They save their current version of this game here. Export project, save. And then once I make a new version of the game, I want to update it, they make a version 2 folder. Version 2. I save it. And right, you can really customize this. There's a bunch of different options. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Godot for today. Learn how to export our games, make those labels, stuff. So let's now go into a further learning, right? This is the section I talked about at the beginning. We're going to talk about how to make games on your own, right? Because kind of followed my own code. You've copied my code. You want to do it yourself now, right? Write your own code. So you're not constricted to whatever game I made or whatever game some YouTube tutorial has, right? So the process of making a new feature. So making a new feature that you haven't made can be very intimidating. You cannot export. I'll help you after class, Hudson, because I want to get this, yeah, I want to get this over with, or this, I want to get this out. Alright, so, okay. So, making a new feature that you haven't made yet before can be very intimidating, because let's say we're to add an enemy and we want to have an AI, or maybe make a 3D game entirely, right? This stuff can be very intimidating, because you don't know where to start, right? The way to start is by splitting this feature up or problem, right? Let's say you want to make a game. You can split that game, different features you need, different mechanics, different problems. to solve. So you split these features problems into smaller problems, then split these smaller problems into even smaller problems, until you practically have individual nodes and lines of code. And that way it's very simple, right? So let's say we want to make a power up for our player. First, let's define like what we need for this power up. I'm gonna just draw this out in Paint to kind of show how kind of simple we can think about this. So like power up, right? What is a power up? It needs to picked up by the player. Sorry, this is not gonna be great. I'll just use text. So it needs to be picked up, and then give ability. Right. So these are the two main things. But how do we do that, right? Let's break these down even more. How can we pick it up? We've talked about coins, right? You can make coins and those can be collided and disappeared with. That's kind of similar. So we would have detecting an area. What can we do to detect collisions? You have area 2D, right? Area 2D node. And then use this, right? We have collision shape for the area 2D. That's how we set up the area 2D. Alright. And then we also need a way to see this power up. So we would need a sprite, right? Some sort of image. If this was like a 3D game, we would need a 3D model. Right? So we have a sprite and an area 2D. And then we want the way this is going to be picked up, right? We have an area 2D. This has a signal, right? We can use that signal to detect the collision. And then we could how are we going to delete it, right? How are we going to delete it? We have that queue_free function, right? So we could use that whenever it's collided. It's gonna free this area 2D. So we went from power up. What is a power up? We need to be picked up. So it needs to actually appear. So it needs to have a sprite and a collision, a way to collide with our player. And then whenever we collided with that power up, we want to destroy the power up in the world, and then we want to give that ability. And how do we define that ability, right? Well, I don't really know what we want this ability to be. So if it was just to be like speed boost, that would kind of also depend on what our player is doing, right? How is our player being controlled? But if our player is simply being controlled by some like speed variable, we can just change that speed variable to whatever this power up increases by, like a multiplier. So for a short amount of time, this is gonna 2x double our speed. So we kind of mapped out in our head how are we gonna make this feature, and now we can go into Godot and make that. Okay? You can make a new power up, right? And or not even, it'd be area 2D, right? Get the idea. So there's a video on this that's gonna be in the slides, but it's kind of explains this idea a lot deeper and more comprehensive. Although the creators using like Python and Pygame, like they use a different set of tools than Godot, it really applies. It's like a universal concept across game development, no matter what your engine you're using, language, and even like this could apply to, let's say you're making a website. Really, it's a universal to programming. So if you guys want, I'll be posting these slides later, and you can watch that video. It's a 9-minute video. I've watched it many times. It's really awesome. So let's talk about troubleshooting and debugging our game really quick. So here are 2 videos you guys can watch. But debugging and troubleshooting is a vital skill, not only for being a game developer, but being a programmer of any kind. Right? You need to be able to read an error message and know what's going on. Luckily in Godot, error messages are very helpful. Uh, at least I found it that way. That most error messages kind of tell you what you need to do, what's wrong. You can kind of change those. And if you can't figure it out, there's Google. That's a great. Let's say we have this error. Let's cause an error really quick. Like how I need to know what's going on. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. You gotta know what's going on in your code, and then when you get an error, it's gonna tell you, hey, this is wrong. And it's gonna try to its best to help you, but you're still gonna need to figure out some stuff. Right? There's very simple errors, like let's say this one, error, colon expected at end of line. Boom, just add a colon, and the error is fixed. We have this, expanded indented block after 4. Indented. Of course, I've been programming Godot for a while, so I kind of know how this debugging thing works. It's a skill you'll develop, and it's important to have. And it's important to know that when you run into a bug, and it takes you hours on end to figure it out, sometimes that's okay, because you'll realize that you made some really stupid mistake, and you could have saved hours. That's kind of part of the process. Another side of this is bugs that you have that are kind of invisible. They don't give you an error, but it's essentially it's your game not working right. Like the player's moving too fast or the player's moving the opposite direction. It's not giving you an error. Um, it's not giving you an error, but it is still wrong, right? And there are ways to troubleshoot that. You can use print statements. It's a skill you'll develop, right? This is a quick uh this is a quick page on how to use online resources, because online resources are very handy and they're very important. Before we do that, let me show you a quick trick to learning Godot really easily. So whenever you're in a game, whenever you're in a code, and you want to know what something does, something that's like Godot, like implemented by Godot, like we want to know what does process do. You hold Control and you click on process. It's gonna take you to the documentation of this process function, and then it's gonna give you an explanation of what that does. And really, this is the way, at least I learned Godot, and all the little kinks, all the different nodes, because there's plenty of nodes, and there's documentation all of them. So you can learn all of this stuff just by programming, and then once you don't know a concept, you look at the documentation that's already built into the editor. Let's say I want to know what does getChildren do. It says array, so it's gonna return an array. It says returns an array of references to nodes children. Basic, right? There's things that get more complicated, right? You might not understand them at first, but it's very useful to know this quick trick. Hold Control and click on something you don't know. What is input? Input is a class or an object, right? It has all these different properties and methods I can use to get our input for a game. Really useful. Alright, let's go back to online resources. So documentation will tell you how a function, variable, or node works. And it'll tell you kind of like signals or different properties on that node. Or input, right? Or like a class. A node is a class. We didn't talk about classes, but think of it like a node. So using documentation is another vital skill of a programmer and a game developer. So it's important to develop that early, and it's really useful. So let's talk about YouTube videos. YouTube videos are useful to learn how to make a specific feature or mechanic, or how to kind of plan your game. Right, I recommend some YouTube videos for you guys to watch if you want to get deeper into Godot. Just be careful whenever you're doing these videos that you don't fall into this concept called tutorial hell. That is, don't fall into the trap where you can't write your own code and you always need to follow a tutorial. The way you prevent this is kind of just by, after every tutorial you watch, you make sure you actually understand the code that you wrote and how it can be applied in places other than the way you wrote it, right? You understand the idea behind the code, not just, oh yeah, this code can make my character move or make my character jump. And here are some uh, YouTubers I recommend that I watch. GD Quest, Shaggy Dev, Heartbeast. There's plenty more, right? Plenty more good ones out there. Um, Other useful resources are the Godot forums, Reddit, and Discord. You can find many questions that you have with answers, or you can ask your own as well. Yeah. My final advice is keep creating games. Don't worry about your games being perfect or even good. It's okay to make really crappy games. You don't need to strive for being perfect at such an early step making games. All that matters is that you're creating games and you're learning from your failures and successes. Getting the practice and experience, being a developer is going to make you better and better. Instead of just sitting there worried that your games are going to be perfect, it's not going to impress everyone. Yeah. Thank you guys for attending the class. I didn't make a survey. Guess I forgot. Whatever. I hope you guys have enjoyed the class. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them now. I'll stay behind a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna be posting this stuff in an announcement. Yeah, I did not create a survey. If you guys want, you can just tell me now how you felt about the course. Whether things were confusing, I went too fast, went too slow. You could direct message me if you want. Hudson, you were having issues, weren't you? I'm gonna end the recording right now, actually.